in place. It's the resurgence of white South Africans all over the place. And I'm like, I understand how money works, as we all do. But this is problematic because they not only haven't had their eye on the ball for Africa, they particularly have their eye on the ball for African Americans here in the United States of America, and the power or their presumption of power that African Americans have. And that's a problem. That's a big problem. And that's something that we should be on the phones to the House and the Senate on an hourly basis. We need to be on rotation so that they know clearly, we're not happy, and we'll make sure that they're put out of office.
All right, now we got Daryl. I know you got a question, but I just want to put a pin in what Karen just said. Folks, call that switchboard. If you're not calling that switchboard every day, you're not on the JOB. We need you to call that switchboard, that congressional switchboard 202-224-3121. Say, stop it, that you want to get rid of this unelected, Elon Musk trying to destroy our government and trying to kill people. You want to get rid of Doge. You want to get rid of all these crazy, unconstitutional executive orders. They are what? They're like 6-1 in the courts. They keep losing these cases because they're doing unconstitutional, illegal, unlawful things, folks. This isn't just our opinion. It's unlawful what they've been trying to do. He isn't king. He doesn't have the power to, with a stroke of a pen, to somehow rewrite the 14th Amendment. He can't do that, right, Daryl?
Oh, no, you're absolutely right, Barbara. He cannot do that. So that's why it's so important for people to call in at 202-224-3121 and let folks know where you stand, that you're not missing this, that you're not blind to what's happening, but that you're fully aware and you want the members of the Congress to stand up and to correct it. Senator Wilkerson, I've got a question for you. You, like myself, comes from a very big political background, running campaigns and being involved in campaigning, all that stuff that we do when it comes to politics. Senator Wilkerson, here we go. All right. President Trump was elected because they said the economy was doing bad. This was the push. The economy's doing bad. I look today, and we see that food prices are higher, gas prices are higher, utility prices are higher, housing is higher, but we're talking about DEI. Is this a bait and switch?
I don't, Daryl, if I had the answer to that, but here's what I will say is this, as someone who, gets the calls, like I don't know what people think I can do still when they go and we're rationing eggs now in our grocery stores, right? Yeah. But what was happening with our economy had much more to do, as you know, with corporate greed than the market, than the actual process in place. And it's getting worse. It's going to be worse. That's what we can rely on that. I have a question really for all of us and all of you, for us to ponder, given what you and Barbara just said about the unlawfulness of so many of the policies that he is trying to enforce. Because we saw some of this really in the process of different jurisdictions trying to try him for treason and crimes. What I fear and what I see right now is an inability to respond when he just defies the courts. Because he certainly lost in court in his ability to freeze some of the USAID money, even remember the whole buyout program, but they persevered. They did it anyway. This is so much more serious than Congress is exhibiting, than even the business community that supported him is exhibiting. And I know that they were prepared to take some of the bad for the good of a major tax break, but to what end? Because if the chief executive of these United States defies the courts and the Supreme Court, what do you think is going to happen when those things are before that Supreme Court?
Well, no, you're absolutely right, Diane. And you got to remember, it is this Supreme Court that said that the president can do whatever he wants to do, right?
Yeah.
And and he doesn't have to worry about the legality of what he's done. And this is the result of what they've put in place. I mean, they've given this man this power. They've given the person this power. They've created this monster, if you will, that can now go across and do whatever he wants to do. And that's what we're seeing happen. So the question, I don't know, that we can put great reliance into the court system anymore. I just don't know that. And that's because of what the Supreme Court has done. So if the president decides that he's not going to go by what the U.S. District Court or the U.S. Court of Appeals decides, and the Supreme Court has already said that he's not responsible for being held in contempt of court for those types of actions, you really are creating a constitutional crisis as to what to do now. And that's extremely, extremely scary, Barbara.
Yes, but I want to be clear that nothing in the immunity decision said go out and violate the Constitution, right? It just said that you can't be held criminally liable for it. I just want to be very clear that there was no imprimatur given to this man to do all the mess that he's doing. It was basically the question of criminal liability, and that he has what you call immunity. And we don't agree with that either, because we don't believe presidents are kings. That's allegedly why this whole country was founded, was to get away from the kings. But in any event, I just think that, we got to, this constitutional crisis is coming. This man we know loves Andrew Jackson, the former president of the United States, who is most famous for not only his slaughter of Native Americans, but is most famous for defying the Supreme Court. And when the Supreme Court told him he was wrong about, one of his policies, he said, well, what army are you going to bring to enforce it? And he just kept doing what he intended to do. So we know he loves that man, that he's got, the pictures of him, and talks about, being Jacksonian, etc. But I just think that we got to understand that the constitutional crisis is looming. But what I can't believe is how spineless, I mean spineless, I don't even know a term that could even capture how bad this U.S. Senate and Congress is acting. These GOP senators, and I'm calling them out, and anybody else who's engaging in advanced compliance, anyone who's already doing this, being obedient voluntarily and just bowing to this man and his, very fascistic, tactics. I mean, come on, folks. What we want to say right now to everyone listening is rise up. Don't sit back. Don't think about this. I mean, my next question is, what is it that people don't know about these DEI attacks? I mean, I think most people don't know that Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, who backed Vance, his mentor, are South African. I don't think most people know that. And they don't understand that South Africa has a history of extreme white supremacy and the evil that they did to the black South Africans by virtually enslaving them for decades and centuries. And what people need to, I don't think they know that. I don't think they know that USAID was instrumental, one of the instrumental forces in getting the anti-apartheid movement and getting South Africa's a whole apartheid racist regime dismantled. I think that, which is why he hates USAID. I mean, I don't think people are making the connection, even people who should know. So what else, Karen, do people not know and not understand about what's going on right now?
I don't think they fully understand that while Trump is the face of this nonsense, It's the people around him that he's influenced by, and they are hardcore white nationalists. The Stephen Millers, the Stephen Bannon playing the outside-inside strategy, the Susie Wiles, whose father was Pat Summerall, and if you remember his racism when he was a commentator on sports, you need to understand that he has surrounded himself. And the Votes guy, the guy who's head of OPM, he has surrounded himself. The author of Project 2025 has surrounded himself with these white nationalists who, in the name of so-called Christianity, where they have propped up someone who's only been to church less than 5 times in his entire life, walks around with the Bible upside down, and is still stuck on, 2 Corinthians. I just don't understand why people don't see the signs in front of them. This is anti-Christ, anti-Christian. Love the least of these. As you do for yourself, you do for the least of these. And people are taken in by this. That's what's so disappointing. When you have someone like Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, and I think the other one is David Sachs, who are all South Africans whose fathers and grandfathers were run out of South Africa by black South Africans, that is the core and the bane of who they want retribution on for or on behalf of. This, and they are using their money. Elon Musk bought the presidency, and another thing I wanted to mention as well too with the FAA. Now they talk about over the weekend that they're having dose. He's implanting someone from his space link place. The NASA, and he's in NASA as well too, so that he can get all of the contracts again. The 11 agencies that he closed down were all doing reports and investigating Elon Musk.
Right.
So that's why he went after all of these, USAID as well, too, before there's his Starlink company. So that's why he went after those companies, those agencies first. And now he's coming back. So what they don't know is how Elon Musk has $20 billion worth of U.S. contracts. Through 7 of his companies. You need to read the tea leaves to find out, well, why did he go after USAID? Why did he go after the Consumer Protection Bureau? Because they were all investigating him. Every agency that he went after first, he was being investigated. Why is it necessary for him to have Social Security data, IRS data on every individual? Could it be for leverage so that he can use it? Why, when he was in the White House, did he talk about someone who makes you a couple $100,000 a year living in $1 million home? Because he'd already looked at the supposedly read-only tax returns of federal workers. That's none of his business. And now they have access to all of our data.
And Karen and Dianne and Daryl, he lies. This is the biggest liar I've seen. I mean, his little doge on Twitter had the nerve to make an allegation about somebody making millions of dollars when this person is struggling. I mean, they lie. They lie. They sat up there in that White House press conference and lied. I believe that all the stuff he was saying was just a lie. And the other thing people don't understand is that not only do they believe in lying, as Vance has said, it serves a purpose. I mean, they also they're not smart. I mean, these are some dumb people. They look at the Social Security data and they decide that they see that it's set for 1875, so they start publicizing, we're paying, this is fraud is going on because we're paying people who are hundreds of years old and look at all this fraud. And they didn't even understand the basic logic that date of 1875 was set when the program was initiated to make sure that they had a lifespan that was outside of any lifespan that was in existence at that time of the program. It was a purposeful, deliberate effort by the Roosevelt administration. And these fools didn't even take the time to find out why that existed. Why did it say that? And they're not doing that for anything because they don't care. They just don't want to be regulated. They want to make money hands over fist,